So the weapon this week was the Undercover Brella, the third and probably final addition to the Brella class. Unlike the other Brellas, the Undercover has the ability to shoot while its shield is up. This is sort of made balanced by the fact that the shield itself only has 200 HP compared to the Splat Brella shield, which has 500 HP. Another way they balance this is the fact that the Undercover Brella doesn't really do that much damage, and this is actually one of the negative points that it has. Where the Splat Brella can do up to 90 damage in one shot, the Undercover Brella at max can only do 40, and at lowest I think it does 10, which isn't all that great. It's got some decent range. It is comparable to Splattershot range in terms of coverage. Its actual damage range isn't Splattershot. It's slightly less than that, but it does have the coverage range of Splattershot, and then the coverage is quite thinner compared to the other Brellas. Its kit is Ink Mine and Splashdown. What's interesting about this is it is a 160p requirement for Splashdown, which currently makes it the cheapest Splashdown weapon in the game, and I could probably see this being changed very quickly, as only running a period of special charge brings it down to a 140p Splashdown. And I feel like this was done probably because they thought the weapon itself can't really cover that well, but it actually does. It does a pretty good job at covering the map, and if you combine that with the fact that apparently it has the fastest strafing speed of any weapon, mind you, it only gets that fast strafing speed if you tap the button and don't actually bring out the Brella shield. Once you start firing from the shield, then its strafing speed goes down. One of the first negative points about it is the fact that its sub is basically non-existent. People aren't big fans of the Ink Mine on any weapon, they just don't really appreciate the ability that it has. Though, this is probably the first actual weapon I've used that has Ink Mine. I do actually find it pretty funny. The fact that it actually now marks people is a lot bigger than a bigger deal than it used to have in the first game. And while it can't kill anymore, I feel like just the ability to mark people provides enough assistance. Sure, it's not the best, and any sub is probably better than this, but it isn't the worst thing in the world. If you place it down like at your flanks or something, then you'll be informed of anyone that's moving that way. Then if you couple the Ink Mine explosion with your actual weapon, then it actually works well together. But again, it's not the best sub, but it's also not the worst. It does have its applications, and I do understand that people aren't big fans of it and probably would much prefer anything else on it. But it is okay. It's not the best, but it's, again, not the worst. So before we really get into the negatives about this weapon, let's start with some of the positives that it has. First off, it actually paints very well. I feel like Nintendo didn't expect this to be the case, but it actually is. It covers pretty decently, and you'll often get your special pretty fast, and even if you're just covering. And it's one of the safest covering weapons because it has that shield. It's always going to have the shield if you're turfing, if you're not like using the strafe speed to turf and just tapping the button. As long as you're just turfing by holding down the trigger, much like the Splat Brella, it can actually handle its 1v1s pretty well. When it comes to the Tenebrella, it can't really handle the 1v1 situations, as it can't go between firing and with the shield open very fast like the Splat Brella can, where this can fire and have the shield up. Granted, unlike the Splat Brella, the chances of you being an auto win in a certain 1v1 with a shooter. Another positive side is that the shield actually comes back pretty fast, which is good. Really good. If this thing breaks, the shield actually comes back in, I believe, 3 seconds, which is, I think, 3 times faster than the Splat Brella comes back, if I remember correctly. And with how fast this thing's going to break, that's actually going to become pretty vital. Another positive thing it has is it doesn't have stun frames. When the shield on the Splat Brella or the Tenebrella break, you're going to have stun time where you actually can't input anything. If you've ever broken a shield on a Brella and thought, wow, he just sat there and let me kill him because he got like confused why his shield was broken, that's actually because when the shield breaks, there's a point where the game doesn't let you actually input anything because it's supposed to be a stun. The Undercover Brella does not have this stun. This allows you to go from firing, having your shield broken, to still being able to fire and hopefully continue the 1v1. And now let's get into some of the negative points of the weapon. First off, obviously the shield isn't the greatest. It has 200 HP, and a lot of weapons have the ability to output 200 HP in a fast amount of time, especially when you stack on the fact that the shield still has these Splat Brella multipliers against it. For For those unaware, a bit back, as a way to sort of nerf the Splat Brella shield, certain weapons were given damage multipliers against it. So certain weapons, when they shoot the shield of a Splat Brella, they'll do double damage or 1.6 times damage. Well, they decided to carry over these damage multipliers onto the Undercover Brella. So weapons that did 2 times damage to something that should have 500 HP now do 2 times damage to something that only has 200 HP. This makes certain 1v1s unwinnable for the Undercover Brella. The Splat Brella has no problem getting rid of rollers, as their time to kill is rather slow and don't do as much damage to the shield, where the Undercover Brella breaks instantly to any roller's flick. Aside from probably the carbon, just about any roller will break the cover shield in one hit because of the damage multipliers. This Splat Roller does 125 damage with a normal flick, but has a 1.6 times damage multiplier against the Splat Brella shield, meaning it does exactly 200 damage, which is an instant break. This is by far the biggest negative point to the weapon. I don't feel like these multipliers should be against this weapon. It was a measure to fight the Splat Brella, where it sort of cripples this weapon's ability to fight 1v1s, where a weapon that's supposed to be designed to be able to take on people and be able to sit there and hide, and keep itself safe for a bit, having everything in the game essentially do a 1.6 or 2 times damage multiplier to it makes it sort of unfair and not as balanced as it could be. I can see removing the damage modifiers against it, basically making it fair. They don't need to do anything else, maybe raise the damage up a bit, but right now the only thing I'd like to see changed about this weapon is to have the damage multipliers removed against the shield. Bring everything back to ×1 damage to it, because it already has low health and a lot of weapons can already output 200 damage in a reasonable time. So overall, how do I feel about the weapon? Well, I actually quite enjoy playing this. It's actually quite fun. I really like the weapon itself. The shield not having too much HP is a little downing, and the kit being subpar at the best is sort of annoying, but the weapon has so many fun parts about it. It can move and turn faster than any other Brella in the game, which is also a positive point I missed earlier in the video, but it's just a really fun weapon. Do I think it's going to be really good? Probably not. They would need to change the damage multipliers for it to be able to handle itself very well against more skilled players. Is this weapon going to be meta defining? Probably not. Is it going to be something you can expect to see? Maybe. Does it need changes? Yes. Overall, it's a fun weapon and definitely something that is worth looking into. I want to thank everyone for watching, and if you have your own thoughts on the Undercover Brella, feel free to leave them below if you have something to say. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.